Hey there, it's Lenny, the door-to-door millionaire, and a lot of people in the door-to-door pest control sales space have asked me about my two new books and how they can help their company. So I made it easy for us pest control people. We've got an orange one and we've got a blue one, but they're basically narrowing down in under 2 hours everything I've ever said and done technique-wise to sell millions of dollars in the pest control industry. I wanted to read the prologue to this one, 77 minutes of learning exactly what to say in pest control sales. I wanted to read that to give you a better understanding of the impact that I had on a company. I essentially saved them from extinction through having their reps go through my sales process and understand what I've done, again, to sell millions in the pest control industry. It starts like this. Lenny, we need you to come to Canada immediately to save our pest control company. We are 2 weeks away from closing our doors for good. Words I never thought I'd hear from the CEO of a startup pest control company who pivoted from a thriving home security business to the pest industry in 2022. 6 months earlier, I was coaching the executives of this Canadian company on the operations side of pest control. However, they gave me the cold shoulder when offering to teach them how to sell pest control door to door. They told me, "We know how to sell in the doors. We have some of the top reps in the alarm industry. Selling pest control is not going to be a problem for us." Famous last words, almost. I mean, what could possibly anybody learn from somebody who sold nearly 1,200 pest control accounts in a single summer? Anyways, so this desperate plea of them came to me at an inopportune time to save this company. Professionally, May is one of my busiest months of the year. My pest control company is in full growth mode, and I'm actively in the field knocking on doors with each of my reps and leading weekly virtual sales training meetings for all my D2D sales teams. Not to mention, this particular May, my personal schedule was even busier than my work schedule. My wife and I were celebrating our 25-year wedding anniversary. We were preparing for our oldest son to return from his 2-year church mission, a daughter graduating high school, another son in the thick of AAU basketball tournament season, and our youngest son training for football season on a team that I was the head coach. So, and our newest addition, our surprise baby, she was approaching her first birthday. Busy summer. Well, despite all of this, almost as if it were meant to be, the last Friday and Saturday of May were relatively open, and I was able to reschedule my obligations for those days to the following week. So, less than 24 hours after attending my daughter's high school graduation ceremony, I boarded a plane for Calgary to save a pest control company. A few minutes before 9 a.m., I arrived at the office for a training meeting with a room full of hopeful yet skeptical sales reps. After the team lead's quick introduction, I trained the sales team for about 40 minutes and then closed the meeting by asking each rep for their daily sales goal. After hearing reps shout out several 2s, 3s, and 4s, the room quieted as then the team lead turned to me and asked, "So Lenny, what's your sales goal today?" Admittedly, the question caught me by surprise and I awkwardly replied, I'm not here to fish, I'm here to teach you all how to fish. Unsatisfied, the team lead insisted, "In this office, we set daily sales goals." With all eyes on me, I considered deflecting the question again, but realized that wouldn't satisfy the goal-thirsty team lead. Confidently, I asked, "Well, what's the company record for most sales in a day?" With a big smile on his face, the team lead retorted, 12. Then, without hesitation, I declared, "Put me down for 13. The room was suddenly filled with oohs and ahs, and I stood with a big smile on my face, suggesting that my goal was a foregone conclusion. But in reality, I was scared out of my mind. Uncertain as to why I just committed to selling 13 pest control accounts in a city I'd never sold in before for a company that was relying on me to save them from extinction. That was some serious pressure. Granted, I've sold 13 or more pest control accounts in a day plenty of times. In fact, I've sold more than 20 accounts in a day 3 times in 3 different states. But these circumstances were different. Not only were the sales reps in that training room expecting it from me, but the owners of the company needed it to happen. I was assigned an area to knock for the day, and sales reps would methodically rotate to shadow me for 30 to 45 minutes. With roughly 9 hours to knock, every sales rep in that office was able to watch me in action. Reps were encouraged to voice and video record me interacting with prospects, as well as take notes to ensure they captured every detail of my sales process that had taken me over 2 decades to create. I call it sales flow. More on this to come. Remarkably, after knocking with the first 3 sales reps and walking back to my car to quickly eat a sandwich, I hadn't made any sales. Zero. Frustrated and terrified, I could only think about the CEO of the company who had invested a lot of resources to get me to Canada, and I was failing. I imagined him saying, well, if the door-to-door millionaire can't do it, we're cooked. It's time to shut up shop and go back to selling home security systems. As I finished my sandwich, ready to start knocking doors again, I looked at the calendar on my phone, and in the time blocked that day to be in the field were the words I typed a few days earlier. Crush it. I reminded myself that my sales flow process has already been working for decades in nearly 30 states and 1 Canadian province, so it would certainly work here. I just had to keep knocking on doors and giving my best effort at each opportunity. Then it happened. I sold my first account to a guy in his garage, and immediately my confidence was restored. And from there, I was off to the races. I even started scheduling customers to receive service right away. And at one point, there were 3 trucks on the same street at 3 different homes completing initial services for customers I'd sold. I was back. So back. In fact, I even sold an account entirely through a Ring doorbell, which I'd never done before. The only time I saw the new customer is when she cracked the door open just enough to hand me her credit card. As the day progressed, with rep after rep shadowing me and sale after sale being made, the day almost magically turned into night. And I slowly walked back to my car, taking in the crisp Canadian air after completing my 13th sale of the day. A new company record. As much as a celebration was in order, I couldn't fully enjoy the moment because early the next morning, I was on a flight from Calgary to Vancouver, British Columbia, to knock with another team of hopeful reps. So on Saturday morning, I entered a crowded hotel conference room much differently than I did the training room from the previous day. With my confidence at an all-time high, I strutted into that rep-filled conference room, and immediately the room hushed as all eyes were on me. I repeated my training from the previous day in Calgary and then once again was asked by the team lead to set my sales goal for the day. Well, I tried using the fishing analogy again, but was shut down quickly. So I asked, what's the sales record for this office? A rep in the back shouted 9. I quickly replied, then I'll sell 10 today. Knowing I had a flight that evening, which would cut my knocking day a little short by a few hours from the previous day, I immediately regretted setting that goal, but knew that big things were expected. As I got on my rental car to knock on doors with the first sales rep, I quickly glanced at my calendar to remind myself what I'd written days before on this Saturday's block for knocking. It read, "Be the GOAT," which inspired me to keep the momentum going for my record-breaking day in Calgary. However, almost eerily, my day in Vancouver started virtually the same as the day before. I didn't sell an account while being shadowed by the first 2 reps. In fact, I'm not even sure I qualified anybody during that time. Thoughts of doing enough in Calgary to save the company and not needing to produce in Vancouver started creeping into my mind. Then it happened. I sold my first account, then my second, and on it went, until with a few hours of daylight still to knock, I reluctantly had to drive to the airport with just 9 sales, tying the office record. Although disappointed, I didn't reach my daily sales goal of 10. A call from the CEO quickly lifted my spirits as he congratulated me on my 2 days of success and cheerfully reported that the Calgary office had their best day selling for the summer. I did it. I saved a pest control company. Over the years, I've stayed in touch with the CEO and others at this company, and they've told me on numerous occasions that they're still in business because of those 2 days I spent with their door-to-door sales team. The CEO said, all of our door-to-door reps are mini Lennys now because we teach them to do exactly what you taught us to do when you were here. Well, that's how I saved a Canadian pest control company. And here's the best news. I'm going to teach you exactly what I taught them. That is the intro to this book, that I am going to teach you exactly what I taught that group and that team, or those teams of door-to-door sales reps in that pest control company up in Canada. I hope you can take advantage of the opportunity to learn from the door-to-door millionaire the exact things I say, the exact things I do to be successful and again to sell millions of dollars in pest control. Best of luck to you on the doors selling pest control.